It's Matt Fouch here. If it's your first time here at the channel, I'm going to let you know that this is a place to come for interviews with some of your favorite Christian music artists, as well as some solo music that I put out that is just featured around bass singing. So go ahead and give a subscribe here at the channel. If you haven't been here before, hopefully you'll come back in the future. Today, we're talking with Tim Parton. Now, Tim is the piano player for the group that I sing in called Legacy 5, and he and I get to travel a lot together, but I've never done an interview with him, so today's the day. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this chat I had with Tim. Tim Parton. Tim, thanks for taking time today to join me, brother.
My privilege. Thanks for asking, Matt.
Yeah, dude. So it's been probably about a month since we've been on the bus together. For those that are watching that do not know, Tim and I travel together in the group Legacy 5. Tim is our piano player, and I sing bass for the group. And we've been on the bus together a year and a half, 2 years now.
Yeah,
Is that about how long it's been since you've been back?
that makes sense. I'm terrible at keeping track of time. You know, it's it. I'm there as long as I am, and yeah. But yeah, I would say a year and a half, 2 years.
So we didn't have the opportunity to travel together the first time you were with the group.
Right.
That was before I joined the group. I joined the group in 2012. I think you left in
I
2009,
had. I no, actually, I left in
11.
2011, I believe. Yeah, so it was the mid year of 2011. So not long before you arrived, maybe less than a year.
Yeah. So we didn't get the chance to travel then, but we are now. We've had a good 2024. And so we're now in our extended break, gearing up for 25. What are you looking forward to next year?
Um, Gosh, it's going to be good to get back on the road, of course. You know, this cycle of touring that Legacy 5 is doing is different for me because I'm used to just traveling year round, pretty consistently every weekend, and that's definitely the way it was the first time I was with Legacy 5. And I actually enjoy, though, the freedom of this new schedule, but it makes me need to fill in a lot of, or gives me a lot of time to fill in. And so I think just what I'm looking forward to is, getting back on the road. As the older I get, I do, and I do love um, more time off, I guess. But I love being home more mainly, and I think we all feel that way. But I still, I don't know, when I'm not busy, I feel like I'm failing, or I'm losing my identity, and that probably is one of the big things that I feel like I'm um, not achieving as much, and so I'm losing touch with my skills, which I realize, it makes it more dependent on me to practice more. The problem with, and I know I'm going far beyond your question, so sorry for belaboring this, and just put your hand up when it's time for me to stop talking.
Well, hey,
But
let me just say, man, here, when I do these interviews, what I love most about it and what the folks watching love most is it's just two people talking, right? It's not like your normal, what's your current radio single? What
right.
project do you have coming up that you're going to release? Like those are your radio interview questions that you get a lot of. This is more of just a conversation, two people talking. So I know the folks love to hear like what you think about who you are, kind of like what's going on in your life, what, stuff like that. So yeah, share away, man.
Okay, all right. Well, I think one of my biggest problems, because music is all I know, it's all I've really ever done, then when I'm not involved musically somewhere, basically that when I'm not using my talent, I feel like I am that I have no identity, because I am a human doing, not a human being. And I know better, but it's piano has just been so much my life. So that's one of the hazards, I think, of not traveling as much, or not being involved musically as much is that I begin to feel like I'm losing my purpose. So I think uh, becoming involved with other communities, other things that I know I can do. I mean, I
Yeah.
admire like yourself. You finding your real estate, something that becomes more a part of your life, uh, and that's something I have been searching for that, and just but I've got to find the right thing that will fit, number one, with my personality, and number two, that will fit with the schedule, allow me to be able to be free to be on the road, because I do still enjoy that. There
Yeah.
are aspects that I don't enjoy. The bed on the bunk on the bus, it never fails to make my back hurt. But playing the piano for that hour and a half, 2 hours that we're on stage, I mean, and I believe me, it's not because of the applause, or really, I'm not just saying that. I truly, that's inspiring and encouraging, just to know that people connect with what we're doing and they receive it.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's just satisfying and gratifying, artistically, and ministering. Just, yeah, all the things that I truly enjoy about what I do.
Yeah. Well, a couple of the things that I know you did in 2024 that you seem to enjoy, at least when you talk about it on the bus and what the experience was like. And it's part of continuing to fulfill that music and piano side of you, was when you got the chance to go to Australia for
Mhm.
a couple things. And I don't know if the folks watching know about that, but let's see, it was the Gospel Music Hymn Sing tour that went over there, and you had the opportunity to go with them for that. And then with another organization that you play with, you went over there. Look, 42 years I've been alive. I've not been to Australia once. You went twice in like a 5 month, 4 month period. What was that experience like? Because I know a lot of people say it'd be cool to go to the opera house, or it'd be cool to go over there to
Sure.
see what Australia's like. But you got to fulfill that
Right.
love of playing and do that. So what were those experiences like in 24 for you?
So the funny thing is, all for several years, I was for many years, I traveled the United States, and pretty, I think, every state I've hit, but international wasn't. Back in '99, I think I went with Gold City to Ireland, Northern Ireland. That was my first time to get out of the country, and so then whenever I joined this other organization, 3ABN, they have an international ministry. So they have headquarters in Russia and Australia. So when I joined them back in 2016, I was able to uh, experience the international thing, which was just really cool. But you know what? People are people everywhere you go, and it's just an airplane ride away to get to these places. And I'm extremely grateful for the audience that I've been afforded through, like, 3ABN, and, like you said, the hymn sing even. So I have been now to Australia about, this was past time was my fifth time, and it takes like a month to get over there on an airplane ride. So it feels like it, at least, but especially coming back. But yeah, just to see the sights that you see in pictures, and it's a beautiful country. I love it. But the people are just the same as the people I see here in the States. And the lovely thing is, I started doing this program on 3ABN called Your Favorites by Request, where I ask people to email me in their favorite songs. And the brilliant thing is that the same songs that I grew up playing and that you and I sing often are songs that people, where it's already tomorrow in Australia, or it's this evening
Sure.
in
Yeah.
Australia, they're singing those same songs. And what's
Yeah.
amazing to me is the fact that these are older songs, and when they became popular, there wasn't the internet to make them popular. It wasn't like people had access on Spotify or any other streaming to listen to these songs to learn them. someone has taken these songs over, missionaries or preachers, whatever, have taken these songs overseas and spread these songs around, and then they become favorites. And so yeah, it's just a plane ride away. And but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do international things. As long as they speak English, I'm good. But
Pick all the English speaking places.
right. But like doing Russia, oh my goodness. I am not a great speaker, and not whenever I hear myself talk. In fact, as I'm talking to you, it's like, oh wow, you're using complete sentences. This is really new for you. And so I kind of have to stop listening to myself. But when you're in Russia and you have an interpreter that interrupts, every dozen words, so they can say speak to their people. Oh boy, that's tough. So
Yeah.
fortunately, piano playing translates extremely well without any interruption.
Yeah, there's something about like you were saying, a great point for those songs that are worldwide before the internet. And how that happened. That's awesome. That's an awesome thought to think of.
Yeah,
But your piano playing obviously is international. It doesn't matter. The melody is understood by those who know and love the song. And
right.
so it doesn't matter what language they may be singing the song in or first heard it sung in. When you're playing it, they could sing along in whatever language
Exactly.
they speak, which
That's
is really
brilliant.
cool.
Music is international. It's
That's
gorgeous.
right. So we talked earlier about us missing each other the first time around on the bus with Legacy 5. And so we've chatted a few times about your musical journey, kind of what got you on the path and kind of brought you along. I don't know if the folks watching have heard that before, so I'd love for you to take a moment and share how you got into gospel music and then how you ended up with Legacy 5, and what kind of journey and path that was for you.
Yeah, so I was born into a singing family. My mom and dad sang and played. My dad was a guitar player, so he was my musical influence. But even before that, my mom actually prayed for a pianist because it was my mom, my dad, and my older sister, 6 years older than I, and just the Parton trio. So when my mom prayed for a piano player before I was even born, I kind of uh, um, realize now that I have no choice because
You had to
you know
pray, Mama. You didn't have a chance.
yeah, way to go, mom. She could have prayed for a lawyer or somebody that would make money actually, but as it turns out, it's just yeah, I'm a piano player and Southern gospel of all things. I could have been
Sure.
some
Yeah.
other kind of concert pianist making great money, but no, I'm very blessed. So yeah, I was born into the singing family. I took lessons when I was 6 and 7 and didn't enjoy it at all. My parents noticed that. So when I was 8, they let me start playing for the family. I listened to the radio a lot as a kid. My dad only had like Chet Atkins guitar records, since he was a guitarist. There were no other kinds of albums in the house. So I had to listen to local Christian radio, gospel music radio. So that's kind of how I got my chops, and I just played a lot. And I think there really is something to having a natural talent for things. Definitely a bent toward a gifting. So when I was 8, my parents let me play for the group. Then I just began to learn. When I was 14, they bought me a grand piano, and that was like really influential in expanding my, just because it was, you've got this, it was inspiring, to have this great piano. So I always tell people, of course, you always hear um, practice on the best instrument, using the best equipment, whatever your skill is, your talent. Practice on, get the best that you can afford, and you'd be surprised how that. I can definitely go back, and there was a mark of where I can begin to tell piano playing started progressing. So I played for a local quartet, a male quartet there in the Kansas City area. And that was when I was 13. And I sang and played. I sang tenor back in that day, and that was a lot
Okay.
of fun. And so then we recorded in Nashville a couple of times, and there was a back when I was with my family, we got to perform when I was like 10, 11, 12, something like that, with a group out of St. Louis, a family group called the Lesters. A lot of people might be familiar with them. And story has it that one of the women, Ginger Lester, who was very influential in their sound and in their arranging, a very talented woman, she told my mom and dad that she wanted me to travel with them when I was old enough to do so. So when I was 18, I had just turned 18 in January of '88, and they had an opening. The Lesters had an opening. I wasn't even out of school yet, so I left school in March of my senior year and went on the road. And we went our first. So I left. We had a school board meeting on Tuesday. My parents drove me to Wednesday to St. Louis, and on Thursday we left for 18 days. And I didn't even have 18 days worth of underwear, of course.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, so it was like they threw me in the deep end,
Yeah.
and we got a rehearsal in right before we left, and otherwise the rest of it was just trial by fire, and it was great. I mean, that was yeah. So that I had nothing, I had no other option but to survive. And so it was great though.
Sure.
I was with them for 5 years and then moved to Nashville in '93 to play for the Speer Family. And there's just a lot of great details into all but in fact, I'll since I brought it up, I'll just mention I
Yeah.
had
Share the
left.
details, man. That's what we want to know.
I left the Lesters to go back to my hometown to become a music minister at my home church. And so I just I had actually, like, 3 years into being with the Lesters, I moved to Branson to play at Silver Dollar City for a group called Priority, who had kind of come on the scene. The cathedrals had kind of taken them under their wings, but then they became the home group at 3ABN at sorry, Silver Dollar City in Branson. uh, so I started playing for them, and I was outside in the heat. It was a summertime, long sleeve shirts. If you've been at to Silver Dollar City or Dollywood, it's those kind of theme parks where you dress according to like the 1800s, and so they never wore anything cool as far as temperature wise. It was just this long sleeve shirt and a vest, black vest. I was playing a black upright piano on asphalt outside, and I lost like 10 pounds, it's just sweating.
Goodness.
And I'll never forget where the phone was, the pay phone back in that day, where I walked in between one of our sets and begged Brian Lester, called him and begged him for my job back with the Lesters. So, and he was very gracious to let me do that, come back. So I
Wow.
then, so in '93, I left the Lesters to go back to Kansas City area, Lawson, Missouri. And for like 3 or 4 months, I became a music minister at the little church. And that's music minister sounds like a big title. And I was just playing the piano and leading songs. It wasn't, I didn't have the credentials to become music minister. But then I'll never forget that I was walking to work. I lived close to the church, and I was walking one day when I got a call from Brock Speer, and that's what he was telling me, that Ben Speer was going to be leaving the group and wanted to know if I would be interested in taking his place. And that's a huge, looking back on that, if your viewers know the Spears, they were, a an anchor for gospel music. I mean, they were a big thing in gospel music, especially in the mixed groups. So back, in the day, they did a lot of groundbreaking, things for gospel music.
Yeah.
And Ben Speer was very influential in their sound. And so for Brock to, I was 23 years old, and of all the people that they have come across in their travels and in their all the people that they knew, he called me and to take his brother's place. So now I don't know how many people he had called before he called me,
How many
but
people turned him down before he finally got to you?
right.
Last straw
So
here. Let's
anyway,
hope this guy takes it.
right, exactly. Or if not, we've got a whole other list of people we can call.
Right.
So, but so actually, after I joined them, Brock told me that if I had not left the Lesters, the Lesters, of course, being another family group, and the Spears being family group, they did some work together, especially in the St. Louis area when the Lesters would promote concerts and have the Spears in. So they highly respected each other. And Brock told me that had I not left the Lesters, he would never have asked me if I had still been with them. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it was, it's really cool to see that, how God worked that out. Not to say that he pulled me away from the church, from that I was being music minister but so I just like to, it's always helpful for me to know again how that God is orchestrating my steps. And of course, the Bible says that he will do that,
That's right.
orchestrate, guide us and lead our steps. So then I was with them for about three years, the Spears. And then I did a little short term session with Janet Paschal for about 3 or 4 months. I was with her. And so then after that, I went to the Mike Speck Trio, was with them for a year, and then with Gold City. And that Gold City was, I had been with all the mixed groups, and pretty much, I guess, being raised in a family group, that was mixed groups had always been my thing, because I felt like there was a lot of vocal options. I got to do some vocal arranging, and it was just kind of my comfort zone. So when when Gold City asked me to join, really the thing that made me want to do that was the fact that they had a band. And I had up to that point not played other than with the Lessers, and it was just Ginger who played the bass guitar and myself at the piano. So that was just to kind of get into a little bigger of a band. That was what I really wanted to do. I wasn't really crazy about doing the male quartet thing.
Oh, rude, man. Come
I
on.
know.
What's
Gall.
wrong? What's wrong with male quartets, buddy?
Well, and there was nothing other than, like I say, I just
Just
had not really been in that.
what you were used to, out of your comfort
Not
zone
so
a little
much,
bit.
right? Yeah, but if there was a great male quartet to get involved with, it was Gold City at that time, with Jay Perrick and Jonathan Wilburn, Mark Trammell, and of course Tim Riley. So really, Jay Perrick is just like a soprano, like a girl singer. so
Sure. Yeah.
so and so it was great to be able to be involved in that. And Mark Trammell kind of took me under his wing and let me actually do quite a bit of the producing, the vocal arranging, in the time that I was there. And the band, we won like band of the year 1 year. So that was fun to be a part of that. So then during that time, I got married, and I began to have a family, and realized, the dynamic of needing to, figure out how to make that work at home. And I wasn't doing so well with that. So I came off the road for a bit. And then I went out with Vestal Goodman, who I really didn't, interestingly enough, I can't say, I mean, I knew of the Goodmans, of course, but I had not met her. I'd been on the Gaither videos by this time. I was introduced, of course, when I was back with the Spears, to all that Gaither that dynamic, but I never even dreamed. So when Rick Goodman called and asked me to perform for Vestal, I I was thrilled because, but not until I went out actually with her did I realize the impact that she had had, because her fans were just uh, they're just adoring of her. And so I traveled with her like the last year and a half, 2 years of, well, of her life actually.
Wow. I
I
did
was
not know that. That's cool.
looking forward to going back on tour with her when Rick called me and informed me that she had passed away. So I'm not exactly sure what year that was, but in the same window of time, Scott Fowler called me and said that Roger was undergoing the health issues, and they needed somebody to just help fill in while he was incapacitated, so to speak. So I was available to do that. So that was in 2006, 2007 that I started uh, performing with the what do they call it? Legacy Five. Yeah, that's who they are.
Yeah, who's the group? Those guys that those fellas man, I can't remember them.
Oh,
That's a
what?
rough one.
Yeah. So so yeah, and then of course when Roger passed away, I was thrilled to be able to step in, just step in, and never again, you talk about adoring fans. Even during the time that I was just filling in, people, they were constantly letting me know how much Roger meant to them, and how I certainly was not Roger Bennett. But I understood that, and
Yeah,
that I wasn't even trying to be.
that's
So
right.
but I get it. That's the risk you take of filling in for somebody like that. Kind of the same thing happened to me whenever Anthony Berger passed away, and I got the call to come in and fill in for him, and I was there for like 3 months touring with the Gaither the concerts, and yeah, saying I got the same thing. And my goodness, I certainly wasn't trying to be Anthony Berger, nor could I even at my best imitation. But yeah, I love the fans and friends of gospel music. They'll set you straight. So,
Here's the
but
thing though. I mean, here's the thing. When you are the person that takes a new position with a group, you're automatically going to get that. You're going to
oh
get
yeah,
comparison to the person that was there before you. And there's going to be some people that come up to you and say, well, you're no insert whoever that name is.
sure,
And there's
sure,
going to be some people that come up to you and say, well, I think you're better than that guy that
right,
used to be
right, right,
here.
right, right, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's just all on each individual, and you just take it, roll with it. The last thing as a player or a singer that you need to do is like internalize that and really fret over it and let it
right,
concern you, because I was talking the other day with doing an interview with a bass singer, and we were talking about how that folks at concerts will just come up and they'll say, "You remind me so much of," and then insert whoever their
sure,
favorite bass singer is,
right, right,
and the same concert you can hear a guy that sings this way and a guy that sings this way, and they're not anywhere close to sounding the same in what they sing and how they
right.
sing. But you remind that person of them, and it's like, now how does that work again? but
Yeah, that's
but
just kind of the
you can't take that and worry about it and let concern yourself over it, man. You just got to be who you are. And that's what I love about you. And one thing I wanted to ask you was who or what style of music or what players has influenced you, do you feel like the most along that journey that you've been on?
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be someone in gospel music. I
No,
mean,
no, no, sure,
because
no.
I feel like you have a lot of yeah, you have a lot of Southern gospel in your playing, but I don't feel
Sure.
like that's it. I feel like there's other influences outside
Yeah, yeah,
musically.
no, I loved listening. I mean, I had Anthony Berger's albums when I was a kid, and so I I certainly remember, trying to. I know I learned some licks from Anthony Berger from the albums, and then actually when I was, back in that quartet when I was 13, I went to a concert of the Kingsmen, and somebody, it was a local audience, and somebody in the audience, of course, says, Timmy Parton knows how to play the piano too. And so so Jim Hamill, I'll never forget, called me up to the piano, and I played an Anthony Berger arrangement. I think like something like Just Over in the Glory Land. And so Anthony, yeah. And then I listened to an Eddie Crook cassette. He had like a little program lesson thing, and I remember listening to that, and again listening to a lot of radio, but I did love to listen to jazz, and I grew up just outside of Kansas City, which not until I was 18 and moved away did I realize that there was an actual jazz presence, and the conservatory, classical conservatory in Kansas City, things that I could have been a part of, but my parents didn't. They weren't active in that scene, so they didn't introduce me to that. But I listened to a lot of jazz piano on radio. So Andre Previn is a guy who he wrote some film scores, but he was a great jazz pianist, but he was also an incredible classical conductor. And he probably still is my favorite piano player, and just overall musician, amazing. And then I just like to listen to a lot of music, and if that's a vital thing, another, besides having a great instrument to play, listen as much as you practice. And if you don't practice, then practice and then listen as well.
Sure.
But so yeah, I don't really have a lot of influence. I mean, I hear people, and I'm terrible about really knowing a lot about, some people. It's not like, say, if you're a sports person, I hear you guys on the bus talk about, the players, and you can quote their stats and all of this stuff. I don't know anything about the people that I listen to, unfortunately. And there's a lot of documentation on Andre Previn or Oscar Peterson or any of the great jazz players that I love to listen to, but I don't study the people. I'm not a studier. I wish I were. I wish I were a student, I guess is what they refer to that person as. But
Yeah.
and that's kind of, so this is kind of going off the subject, but for the next 10 years, I turned 55 in January of 2025. And for the next 10 years, I have determined that I'm going to be everything that I haven't been. So I got a lot of good luck with
Wow.
that, right?
So that's your New Year's resolution, but on a 10-year scale? Is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about here? Okay. And you're going to be
Well,
everything you've not been in the first
yeah,
55.
I know that's a bit
Wow.
extreme,
That's a
but all that to
big.
say, I am going to try to buckle down and be a better student of some of the players, because I still want to be a better player, and especially as I see young people coming up, that are just knocking it out of the park in Southern gospel. Great pianists, great arrangers, great conductors, orchestrators, and I'm thinking, these are the guys that are taking over. And Theo is
Speaking of taking over, who we got there?
this is Theo. He's my
Okay.
dog. He's a good boy.
What kind of dog is it?
He is the King Charles Cavalier, whatever they call it. It's got a big old name. He's a Cocker Spaniel, and he's about a year and a half, and he's a good boy. He's a good boy. He loves to play, but
Making his screen appearance.
yeah, he's a good boy. good guy.
So my
So
question with your 10-year thing here, being all the things you've not ever been, have you ever been a bass singer?
no, things that I've wanted to do. Maybe I
Oh,
should say that.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that I'm sorry. That
Clarification.
did sound presumptuous for me. Yeah, no, I could never live. Honestly, I will say another thing. I was telling a friend just the other day about how my problem of sticking. I know I have been around several different groups as I had mentioned earlier, but I feel like those were that was reasonable because at least it was all playing the piano. It was Southern gospel music. It was so I feel like I have been in that game. But there are so many other fields that I'd love to be involved in, and so. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a cook. I would love to be in the hospitality industry. I would love to do landscaping. Things that are and things I would love to know about, but I would love to raise chickens too. So,
A
but
chicken raising
different.
landscaper.
What?
A chicken raising chef landscaper
Dude,
that
that
plays
totally.
piano.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem
That's
is
awesome.
that to be on the road, somebody else has got to watch the chickens. So because you can't exactly take the chickens with you on the airplane if you're flying. But
Yeah, that's right.
but
Well,
so
nor on
yeah,
the bus.
it's I have high hopes for the next 10 years.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. I've seen that you have a couple of solo pieces that you've put out for people to stream online, and the folks that are watching can go and listen. But as part of that 10-year thing, are you going to do any more solo recordings that can be released for
Yes.
people to enjoy some music?
Yeah, I actually am. That's part of my. You know what? I am reluctant with that whole scene. I guess maybe it's just there's a part of perfectionist in me that yeah, I haven't recorded a new project since for years now. I can't even remember when the last project I came out with was a vocal thing. I think I did 10 years ago called Finding My Voice, and that I released God's Been Good on that, and several songs that were great songs. But I not because I sang them, but because they were great songs. But that's I haven't done any. I've done some piano arrangements, of course, since then. But I don't know why. I don't. I would love. Uh, I wish I had a little more of that desire to put music out there. I don't know what that is. And Gerald Wolfe tells me, when you're gone, you're not gonna there's not gonna be anything of you to for the people to hear and remember you by.
That's
Um,
right.
I don't know. So yeah, I definitely that's on my radar of things to do.
So is that like closer to year one, like 2025,
Yes,
or like year
actually,
2035, like
yes,
down the
actually, a
road?
very good friend has told me has given me a deadline to come out with the next 10 songs, and so I've got to I'm that's like 7 hours away. My
Well, we
deadline.
better cut this short. You better get to work, buddy.
So, but bye.
Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed chatting with you, man. I hope the folks have enjoyed hearing from you and hearing the musical journey. And I know they're going to be looking forward to seeing information about the recording that you're going to do in 7 hours. So, folks, go and follow Tim on the social media. Are you just on Facebook? Are you on multiple platforms?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram at the Tim Parton at the
Oh,
Tim Parton. There you
fancy.
go.
The.
The Tim Parton. Yes, I
Yeah,
don't know why, but yeah, yeah. And I am working on creating some kind of a website, either timparton.com or tim-parton.com, something with Tim Parton in it for sure.
yeah.
But just
And
so
I
you can
did.
find access to sheet music that I will be creating. That's
That's a great
for
idea.
people who are
That's a
interested.
great. I think folks would enjoy that. And the other thing I wanted to mention for the folks watching is I saw the last week and a half, you've gone live a few times on Facebook
Yeah, I bought a
playing
new
songs.
piano. And so yeah, I sold my old grand piano, and because that's kind of another like you think chickens are hard to travel with. A grand piano is hard to travel with.
Sure.
It's just heavy, and I'm a little guy, so I bought a smaller piano. It's I can show it to you really quick. It's sitting right there. It's a lovely um, a Yamaha. It's kind of an upright, but 48 inches high, and it's perfect. And I could talk all day about that. It's a really neat. So that inspired me. It's getting tuned in 2 days because I've just had it in for about 2 or 3 weeks. Had to let it set, but so yeah, I'm excited to do some live things. And again, um, it's just raw. Hear all the mistakes and everything as we play, and that kind of is like not my safe place, but people are very, very gracious to compliment and listen and hopefully share and hopefully just enjoy. And so, yes, I love
Yeah.
doing that now.
Yeah, y'all check that out. Facebook Live with Tim. He's playing from time to time. You can go to his page and watch some of the past ones and then be looking for his new music, hopefully. Um, well, 7 hours from now. See what we
Six and
get.
a half, I think now.
Yeah. Tim, thanks for your time today, man. I do appreciate it. And
I
looking
appreciate you,
forward to
Matt. Thanks for this
seeing you
privilege.
in February.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go on a cruise.
Yeah, we're gonna do the gospel music celebration. And actually, we're gonna be rooming together for that
We
one.
are. I'm going to bring my piano, so you better, I
Oh
don't know where
Lord,
you're
here
going to
we
sleep.
go. We'll see you, buddy. And thank you all
Thanks,
so much
pal.
for watching.